Hello and welcome back to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and local partners, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Welcome back to episode 198. This is the last full week of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and I want to start off by talking about that. This week's focus is on updating your software. So one of the critical pieces that we should all do to stay safe is update our software. And what that means is that when Windows or your phone or whatever it might be pops up and says, hey, there's an update, please update, you should do it. It's that simple. Update your phone. Now, here's the catch with this. Back in the day when software was being updated, it was about adding features, adding things. I want to add this component to the operating system, so we're going to send it out in an update. That still happens, but updates are happening on a more regular basis because software is identifying security issues, security vulnerabilities, security flaws, and they are using updates to push out patches to address those flaws. So you want to make sure that your devices and your apps and everything is protected from threats, and you do that by updating your software. Don't click the remind me later because you'll forget. If you can make it automatic, that's even better. But if you're trying to find an update, if you're in a browser, there might be a link that just says update. On your phone, there's under settings, there's probably a place where if it's not on automatically, you can go and do a software update. And if you haven't tried to find that part on your phone in a few months, I can guarantee you there's an update. Go to your app store, update your apps. There's a lot of those things that you can, places where you can find updates to run through. So you want to make sure that you do that. All right. Well, let me shift to the news of the last little bit. This one I thought interesting. First of all, 68% of healthcare workers experience a supply chain attack. If you broaden that, in a recent Proof Points study, it says that 92% of healthcare organizations surveyed experienced at least one cyber attack in the last 12 months. That's up from 88% in 2023. And 69% of those that were surveyed said that attack had a disruption to patient care. Whether you look at last year's numbers or this year's numbers, 88%, 92%, that is 9 out of 10 in the healthcare area experienced an attack. That is obviously the majority of healthcare providers that were surveyed. This isn't just hospitals, it's all healthcare providers or healthcare organizations. I often tell you that you should assume that you're going to have a cyber attack, not if, but when. This is proof. The majority of these occurred, the 90% or 92% of these had an attack in the last year. So if you don't know how to respond, that's a problem. If you're not prepared for an attack, I don't care if you're healthcare or if you're, a small accounting business. You should be ready of how to respond in the event of an attack. Be ready. So Varsity Brands has is being sued. They had a data breach that included social security numbers, driver's license numbers, other personal customer personal data that was exposed. Interesting thing about this, and the reason that I wanted to highlight this, is that according to the lawsuit, the individuals bringing the lawsuit claim that the breach was preventable. Now, the legal process is going to determine exactly what preventable means, and was it really preventable? Was it best practice already being implemented or not? All those pieces, all that's going to come out in the trial, if it goes to trial. But what I think is very interesting is that now the lawsuit is actually saying because it was preventable. If you read this article, it also talks about that there was an aspect of they knew they had a data breach and they waited too long to notify customers. And anyway, there's a number of pieces that go along with this. But if you have a flaw, if there's a potential issue in your network security and you're not doing anything about it, then I might be able to argue that it was preventable. You knew you had an issue and you didn't do anything. So you want to make sure that you're doing the job, you're doing the work to make sure that it is preventable if possible. A couple other stories that I think are interesting of note. A few months ago, I think at this point, we talked about Georgia Tech being sued under the False Claims Act, or being fined under the False Claims Act for saying that they met their security requirements in contracts, but they didn't actually meet those requirements. Well, Penn State has now been hit with a fine as well for failing to meet the requirements. What has to happen, or what happened in, I think, both of these cases, was that there was a whistleblower that came out. In this case, I think it was a former CIO of the research group at Penn State. I think that's right. That came out and said, hey, they did not implement the proper security controls, even though they claimed to have been doing that. So it's a really important piece that I think we're going to see more and more. The new CMMC guidance just came out. We'll talk more about that in another episode. They finalized those rules. All these different things are happening where federal contracts are requiring security controls. So if your organization is working on federal projects and says that you're doing the things you need to do, but you're not really doing it, well, that could end up being a real problem. So you want to make sure that you're following what you say that you're going to follow. All right. And then this relates back to our first story. Maybe it's our second story, but SEC, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, they go around and they examine, they do audits on organizations, making sure that they're doing the things that they say they're going to be doing. Well, they released for 2025 what are likely going to be their top focus areas. And a few of the things that they announced that we're going to change is that they want to focus on cybersecurity, AI, and fiduciary duty. Now, some of that, it sounds really boring to me, but from a security standpoint, what they actually talked about what they want to do because of the increased number of cyber attacks, and in particular ransomware attacks, what they have announced they want to do is to make sure or examine how organizations respond to a cyber attack or to a ransomware attack. They want to look at your policies. They want to know how you do it, because frankly, that's a large expense. It's costing consumers money. It's costing companies money. It's costing our nation money. So how are we addressing that as individuals? How are we addressing that as organizations? So the focus will be on policies that govern data loss prevention, access controls, account management, incident response. So if you're not addressing those and you fall underneath the SEC, be prepared, because there's likely to be some pushback next year when they come examine what's going on in your organization. If you don't fall under the SEC, you better believe whatever organization you do fall under is going to be likely looking at those same types of things. It's important. This world is changing. We have to make sure that we're doing our job to prevent these attacks. And if these attacks happen, then how do we respond to them to minimize the damage? All right. These are our stories for today. If you want the links, they're in the notes. Thank you for joining. If you have questions, please let me know. I'm always happy to talk. If you have a future show topic you want me to highlight, I'm happy to do that as well. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.